Welcome to the farm in the Paul McCartney Auditorium. 11 years since you were together, yeah? Mm-hmm. Does it feel like 11 years?
It feels a lot longer actually.
Yeah.
But you know, more like 10.
What brought the actual reunion?
Peter?
Yeah, well, what happened is the Football Association got in touch with us last year and said, would they be able to use All Together Now as their official song for Euro 2004, you know. And we thought, great, you know, Robbie Williams can do it, you know.
Yeah.
Or somebody like that, you know, take the pressure off us, we'll just collect all the money.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, everyone was too busy and it was such short notice that...
you were going to have a reunion then? For that?
Well,
yeah.
we agreed to let them use the song because the sentiments of the FA were saying that, you know, it was they were trying to get the whole country behind the England team. It just wasn't for white working class bulldogs, you know. That was the idea. And they were trying to be all-inclusive.
Right.
And that the sentiments behind the song were also anti-violence.
Right.
And I think they were worried about the trouble in Portugal in 2004 in the summer. So they wanted to use the song, and we never really. We'd had several offers over the years to reform, but we'd never really contemplated it really, you know.
When was the most serious offer to reform? When did you feel most tempted?
SJM Promotions have been a couple of years ago offered us a couple of gigs, you know, and there's also been a couple of other people, you know, being in touch.
Right.
But the FA was the first, you know, realistic approach, and then we started meeting up a lot more regularly then, you know.
Right.
And in the end, inevitably, because it was too short notice, the FA had to go back to using basically the original song with a bit of crowd chants on the top. And that's why people were saying, like on the radio, this sounds like the original with a bit of crowd chants on the top. Because it was.
Yeah.
But that was because of time restrictions, you see. And then we did the video together and we went to Portugal. And saw a couple of the games, you know, and we actually did something. I think we did Top of the Pops, but we also did something called Pop Beach, which involved getting on a tour bus again, which none of us had done for 10 years. And we started to realise, well, this actually can be, you know, it can be fun again.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And Ben, you've been living in Paris, is that right?
In France, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so you haven't seen these guys at all?
No.
We thought he was
How's
dead.
that, Ben?
I heard he'd snuffed it.
There was a rumour. Yeah, about that.
Wasn't there?
Yeah, there was
No,
a
we heard
rumour.
you were dead.
Wow.
Weird.
Yeah. When you're
What
in
was
the
it
happy
like
monkeys.
meeting again after 11 years?
I thought we were seeing a ghost.
No change at all. They're all exactly the same.
Did you need much persuading to come over?
No.
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 But when I say it's a reunion, it's not really a reunion because you didn't split back in '94. It just ended, didn't it? It wasn't as though it was a bust up and a split. Is that
No.
right?
We just all went home,
Yeah.
basically.
Come
And the
back
phone
10
never
years.
went.
we went home, basically, got off the tour bus one Christmas, and I remember it, and we just went home, and then just closed the door behind us, and then the phone never went, so that was it.
That was after the American tour, was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
The
think
Hullabaloo
that
tour.
finished everyone off the American tour,
Right.
1994.
Yeah. 65 dates or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of dates, and you know, we had a great time doing it. But I think, you know, my impression at the time was like, you know, this is the last farm tour. That it just felt like it was ending. You know, I don't know, you couldn't really put your finger on it, but you know, it just felt like
if
the
there was an
inevitable
ending, it was during that tour, was it? Yeah. It was
Yeah.
during that tour that you felt that it was going.
It was all gone, yeah,
Bit
pretty,
Yeah.
pretty strange, to say the
Yeah, I think
least.
so. Yeah.
Going back to 1983, Bruce, it was the formation of the band. You were the founders with Steve. And what kind of influences you were into the Clash and stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd seen the Clash play a few times. You know, I was also into groups like the Jam and the Specials. You know.
Right.
And I just thought at the time that there was no Liverpool groups who were reflecting social conditions and the social events happening in Liverpool at the time. You know.
Top stuff.
Well, yeah, I think that was probably the main catalyst, the main stimulus for it, you know. I started writing lyrics probably in the early 80s, you know, soon after John Lennon died, I think, you know. I mean, it wasn't an intention to form this particular band, and it was just pure by chance, really, that I know somebody who had a group and who were rehearsing.
And that was Steve.
And yeah, well, that was Steve's group, yeah, and they're rehearsing in a pub, and I turned up one day in the pub because they used to have stay-behinds in there. In the old days when they used to stop serving at 3 in the afternoon. And I said, I can sing Starman by Bowie, I'll have a go at singing, you know. And that's how it really came about. It was purely by chance, you know.
Right. Steve, was the band called The Farm?
No, it's called The Excitements. You know. It was,
So when did
it was a bit
become-
of a new wavy type band, you know.
Right.
We did a lot of covers really, and like just the odd kind of original.
Right.
But we've gone through a load of singers.
I
You did?
auditioned
Yeah.
to, what were the 2 songs I sang? Remember it?
Waiting for the Man. was it?
Waiting for the Man, yeah.
Lou Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was it, Stones one, was it? Or You Really Got Me, was it?
Kinks.
Kinks, You Really Got Me.
All day and all the night.
Oh, all day and all night.
Yeah. We'd gone through we had a load of singers and they weren't that great, like, and then Peter just had to go in the mic, and you know, it was fantastic. Yeah, so it all started there.
So when did it become The Farm?
We started getting gigs, and we needed a better place to rehearse than the pub, because we could only rehearse Sunday afternoons. So we knew some people. Actually, it was someone who used to sing with us, a backing singer, and she lived on a farm. So they let us have one of the barns to rehearse in, and we always used to say, we're going down the farm to rehearse. So we thought, well, that's a better name than
The Excitement.
than the Excitements. So it changed to The Farm, you know. Contrary to what a lot of people think.
It's a popular myth that we got our name from a housing estate in Liverpool called Cancel Farm, and that's the real story.
Right. So
Yeah,
the other one's an internet myth.
That's another internet myth, yeah.
There's
Wonderful
lots of
internet.
those.
There was a
Yeah.
competition on the radio years ago, on Radio Merseyside. We had to phone in, guess where the name The Farm comes from, and you won albums or something. And someone won it because they said, oh, well done, you know, you got the name from Council Farm. You said, they go, not again. There's a book out recently, A History of Liverpool Music, and in one of the chapters it talks about The Farm, but it mentions again that, you know, where the name comes from. It's that mythology thing.
Yeah.
Just ask us, someone.
And then the sort of next quite important crossroads was the Oxford Roadshow, BBC Two.
Well, not really.
No,
The
I don't
first real breakthrough that we had a big live, when the Enemy live section used to mean something. There was a big live review of The Farm in a place in town. I can't even remember the venue, but it was a really good gig that we did. You know, and there's a couple of 100 people there, and the crowd went mental as they used to do in the early days. And then John Peel saw that review and offered us a session from that. You know, because he was aware of us, because I'd been in touch with him because I used to do a fanzine called The End years ago, and so he was a fan of the magazine, but he couldn't give us.
Football fanzine.
Well, it's like a football. It was like the private eye for the working classes, I used to call it, you know, rightly or wrongly. But he was a fan of that, you see, and he was always asking John Walters, you know, get The Farm in, and John Walters go, no, Peely, no one's interested apart from you, because you're you're his mate. But when they saw the live review in the NME, it was another opinion saying this is fantastic. So that's when they offered us the John Peel session, which was, I think it was probably in about April '83, wasn't it?
So it was right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, you know. I mean, we'd only been going a few months,
Yeah.
so it was a great breakthrough, you know. And we had Mott the Hoople's drummer was recording the session, a fellow called Dale Griffin, and we turned up with clapped out equipment. And he was a drummer, and so he said to our drummer, he sadly missed Andy McVan, he said, where did you get that drum kit? He said, it sounds like, when you're drumming, it sounds like you're falling down the stairs. Can't you tune your drums up? And Andrew's going, what are you on about? Because we had come from that punk ethic of like, you know, 3 chords and like, you know, hammered it out, you know. Whereas we had this, What the Hoople's drummer giving us advice on drum keys and things, you know.
Right.
So it was an hilarious introduction to the wonderful world of Radio 1.
Right. And then the Oxford Road show, that was where you came across Suggs, is that right?
Yeah, well, no, we had a mutual friend before that, you know. But what happened with the Oxford Road show was, I think that was a Peter Powell session. And ridiculous as it may seem now, but Peter Powell was at the cutting edge of independent music. Because what he used to do, he used to be quite friendly with John Peel, and he was a music fan, Peter Powell. But even though he had an afternoon show, he'd always try and get recommendations from Peel and Walters. So they obviously threw our name into the hat. So we ended up doing another session for Peter Powell at Birmingham, Pebble Mill at Birmingham, which if you got a session there, that went on to an unsigned band on the Oxford Road show. Right. I think we were on with Morrissey and members of, I think Marillion were on, Smith. Morrissey, and possibly Madness. It was the M show. Can you remember that?
It was the Smiths.
Oh, right, yeah.
Suggs was, he wasn't performing.
He was just a guest, wasn't he?
He was a guest, yeah.
Did you have the brass section at that point?
Yeah.
We certainly did, yeah. Because we obviously we were also influenced by Dexys and that type of thing, you know, and the Style Council started using the brass section, you know.
We actually played support at the Style Council's first ever gig in Liverpool, at the Liverpool Empire.
In May '83 it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the first single, Hearts and Minds, that was out on a sort of indie label, was it, yeah?
Yeah, that's right, a Liverpool indie label, you know. And Suggs was fantastic for that. They invited us down to Madness's studio called The Liquidator, which was on Caledonian Road.
Yeah,
that right? He put us in the studio for a week, and we came up with this strange sounding song called Hearts and Minds. If you listen back to it, it sounds remarkably good. You know.
Carl, how did you meet the guys?
I don't know, I can't remember, but it was a long time ago. But I remember Peter saying to me when I turned up, either to rehearsal or something.
Audition?
Or an audition.
Yeah, it was an audition.
Was it?
Sure, yeah.
I remember I got in because of the coat I had on, not because of my limited bass skills. But it was the coat, what you saying to me about that coat? I had a dark coat on.
Well, you got to remember the 80s was, you know, the day of the long overcoats.
Yeah.
And we were definitely looking for a band who had like a street, you know, street neo-mod image or whatever. Yeah. And so Carl was the only one who turned up without a long overcoat on. So he was in.
That was it. Been there ever since.
Yeah, Kevin Sampson said that you really did not like being called a baggies band, fashion-wise. You were a mod band. Is that right, Keith?
Well, I don't think anyone knew what baggy meant. A baggy, probably when that term was being used by journalists at the time, meant looking at some idiot who had Joe Bloggs gear on, and no one in the fan really wore clothes like that, you know. So I think it wasn't the fact that everyone was offended. It was just no one really knew what it meant. It was more so seen by everyone in the band as lazy journalism, I suppose.
It was a misnomer because basically it was a retrospective description of a scene which they tried to get a name for. They called it Scallydelia, indie dance, Manchester, whatever, and then eventually in 1992, 93, not in 1990 or 91 when it was happening, but in 1992, 93 decided to call it baggy, but it became almost a term of abuse, I think, because it represented like the really unfashionable look of like maybe the Inspiro Carpers championed of like baggy tops and bag, you know, flared, you know, massive. We were, you know, we were going to stuff for St George and Paul Smith. We were the opposite to that, you know. That's why we didn't like the terminology, really. You know?
We just on that point, it was at the time, you know, when your band becomes successful, clothing companies sometimes approach and say, "Will you wear this or wear that?" Well, in those days, people like Joe Bloggs never came anywhere near us, but Fred Perry did, and Mau Mau, remember Mau Mau?
Yeah.
Very, very, you know, elitist in a way, but very fashionable shirts. and people like Paul Smith, it was more that end of it.
Yeah, I think that's important to set the record straight on that, because, you know,
you were never a baggy band.
you know, not really, you know, even though we were lumped into the Manchester scene, you know, because of that sound, you know, but I think most people knew we were from Liverpool.
And you were just getting into gear when tragedy struck. You were just saying earlier about Andy. Was that a big setback for the band?
That was in 1986, Andy died,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were thinking of packing it in there, I think, weren't we?
Yeah.
But I think it was their family saying no, carry on, you know,
Really?
because that's what we want you to do, really.
Yeah.
So it was like after that, after his funeral, they'd said, you know, you should carry on, that we decided we should carry on, you know.
And it was Mike Hanratty who was drummer for about a year then, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Describe your sort of joining the band.
I was teaching drums at the time, and I was in this, well, it was a big fridge basically. I used to lock myself away in a big cold storage unit. And one day the buzzer went and somebody said they were looking for a drummer, and actually sent them away, which they've never let me forget, because I was busy teaching, and luckily they came back.
You also found out and said you just split up, haven't you?
Did I?
Yeah, I remember because we were at the buzzer and he said the family, and we just heard you just split up, haven't you?
So luckily they came back and we went for a cup of tea, and I've been aware of them for years, because I used to read the end, and I was on holiday in Spain, and one of the lads we were at the first John Peel session on tape, I think he was a mate of theirs from the area, so I was well aware of that. So, and I think it was a drummer called Joey Musker, the legendary Joey Musker from Dead or Alive, who recommended me, and they came knocking.
So what was the first single that you were on?
First single?
Body and Soul.
Body and Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was a record label that started by a drummer that I knew called Mark Cowley, who went on to manage Space. And he bought a huge pressing plant, all the machinery, and set it up in Bootle. And he used to make clocks. It was far ahead of his time. And
he used to make a lot of things on that pressing plant.
Yeah. And he started up a record label, and we were the first signing to it.
Ben, you were on Body and Soul, weren't you? That's your first
You
one?
can't remember, can
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was, Ben was on the brass.
I was a trumpet player.
Brass
first.
section then.
Right.
He was in the brass section Mark II, though.
Second
Yeah.
one,
Second
Yeah.
one.
Until he fell off the stage that night.
So why the change from the brass sound to what was it? I think Body and Soul was described as synth pop.
Yeah, well, what happened was with the brass section, we were doing a gig in Hull, and this was shortly after Andy's death. And not that the brass section were close to Andy, or anything, you know, it's just that I think they thought when Andy, that's it, you know, really, I think psychologically they thought it was the end of the group, really, you know. So they didn't turn up to the gig in Hull, you know. We were supposed to meet them in town at a place called the Ministry, where all the groups used to rehearse in Liverpool. And they didn't show, and we never heard from them again, you know. Literally.
So it wasn't a musical.
You know, it was just that they decided that was, you know, you know, it comes to its conclusion, you know. But then we were trying to recruit, I mean, because it's difficult to get brass sections, especially ones who can play.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think, I don't know, it was Ben was recommended, but I'm sure it was through Keith or maybe Roy.
It should Roy, yeah.
Mabel
Keith,
Fletcher,
how did
wasn't
you meet the band?
I can't really remember. I'm sure it was an approach from Peter via someone I knew who used to go to the football matches.
Maybe. I remember some lad in Waterloo saying, "Want to hear this guitarist, he's boss." And there's Keith upstairs in the bedroom, you know, playing like this, I don't know what it was.
Neither do I.
Smoke on the Water.
I think I knew Stairways to Heaven.
Yeah, but he was playing, you know, and he looked into it and I thought, oh, that sounds good. But, you know, we were still the punk ethic at the time, so, you know, we never really thought about it again, you know. And then we were looking for a guitarist. Yeah. And I'm not sure how I got his number, but it must have been the same person who gave me his number. And then he came down. Yeah, a mutual friend it was. He came down to Rehearsal. And couldn't get rid of him.
What were your main influences guitar-wise, Keith?
Oh, I mean, I've always listened to all. I mean, when I was younger, I used to listen to Bob Marley and Dylan and all kinds of stuff. And the same, I go see the Jam and the same type of things like that. But I just used to listen to everything and try and play everything, you know.
Right.
And that's probably why my playing sounds quite confusing at times, because I confuse myself. But you know, everything really.
Right.
That's it.
That old guitarist, John, he just disappeared, didn't he? He just fell to a gig. We never ever saw him again. Is that right?
We have a lot of that, you know, where people just disappear.
Yeah.
It's like not in gardening accidents, but they just
No. Most of them are buried under patios. But
yeah.
no, they just, you know, literally, I think people decide, well, that's, you know.
When people thought they'd give it 3 years, see what happens.
Yeah, you know.
And then suddenly they don't turn up, you know, so we always had to replace. I mean, I think once we worked out there must have been over the years about 20 different members.
more members than Fleetwood Mac had.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But two, you know, always the core members, you know, me and Steve were the original members, but there was one, we had problems with bass players, you know.
Yeah.
And there was one bass player who did the Oxford Road show. We didn't do the Oxford Road show, we did the Peter Powell session, which became the Oxford Road show. But we said to him, look, you can't wear what you're wearing on stage with us, because it's important when we do the Oxford Road show, we've got to look right, you know. And he didn't see anything wrong with his clothes. He said, look, we'll give you money to go and buy clothes and that. But his nickname was Soup Kitchen at the time, so you get the impression, like. And what put us off him was when we were at the Pebble Mill, and it was all subsidised BBC food, and I left a bit of fish. And he said, can I have that? I thought, yeah, you can have it, yeah. So he took it, but he didn't eat it there and then. He wrapped it up for later. I thought, I'm not having someone with a long overcoat and fish in his pocket as well. That's a non-starter.
So from that story, if we could move forward to the 6th of January 1990, when the band, so the story goes, you went down to London, Kevin Sampson's office, and you had a secret backer. Is that right?
Well,
can you tell us about that, or is it going to remain secret?
He's going to remain secret, but we'll give you a few clues. What happened was we had a lad who was like a bit of a mascot, really, you know, and he used to come around to watch us all the time, you know, and he was really into the farm. He was into the ethos of the band, and he approached us in '89. Actually, he'd done a couple of benefit gigs at the Royal Court with this secret backer, and then he said to me in late '89, he said, Peter, what you know, why aren't the farm, you know, look at what Stone Roses are doing and the Inspiral Carpets and the Happy Mondays. You know, you're the originators of that look, really, that they had, you know, the clothes and all that. Why aren't you successful? And I just said, economics. He said, what do you mean? He said, well, no one's ever put the money behind us. I think we've got the hit singles there, we just need the backing. And he famously went, I know this fella.
You can sort it out.
And he said, right, yeah. So we were intrigued, you know, and we had a meeting over that Christmas period in '89, and we had a meeting, and he said, well, what would it need? And I said, well, to do 2 singles and an album, probably about £25,000, you know. We were thinking really indie, small scale, you know. And he said, okay. And we said, well, what have we done selling records? I said, doesn't matter, you know, I'll put, you know. So it was really like a record company would do, right. Someone putting faith in you and putting the money behind you.
Yeah.
And we'd had a few tentative offers before, but it had all fell through at the last minute, you know. And so this was the first. We thought, let's do it ourselves, you know. And we had that DIY ethic. And so I rang up Kevin Sampson, who in turn rang up Suggs. So we had this meeting in January the 6th, which I think, did we all go to it?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Because we promptly drank his fridge dry.
Yeah.
Yes, that's in legend, yeah. The band drank the office dry.
Not that there was anything to drink in the office.
So Kevin came up with this blueprint and told this mystery backer that he would have to just deposit this £25,000 into a thing called Ruthless Band Management, which was him and Suggs. And he said, we'll do the rest. you know, we'll get everything. We get the pluggers, we get the enemy adverts, the face art. You know, we do everything. Press, TV, plug and everything. But this mystery backer he wasn't really too confident about that. I don't know whether he didn't trust them or what. But he decided no, he didn't want to do that. But Kevin's blueprint for getting the farm on top 40 was like, you know, it's a work of genius in many respects, you know, because a lot of what he put down came into fruition, you know.
And Stepping Stone is a first move in that.
Yeah, the first move was to collar Terry Farley, that well-known Balearic indie dance DJ at the time, who was doing well in all the club magazines and doing well in Ibiza and all that, to collar him outside one of his, I think it was the Limelight Club in London, and say, you know, the Farm are interested in, you know, you doing a remix, you know. Is
it true that he was a sort of keen reader of your fanzine?
Yeah, and he was. He used to write the fanzine as a Chelsea fan. So he started a thing called Boys Own in London because of the inspiration of the end, you know. And he wanted to, in the 80s, he started it specifically because he'd read the end, you know, because that incorporated football, fashion and culture, you know, basically a culture of the time, you know. So we started Boys Own, and then he started becoming famous with his DJing, you know. I thought, that's named Terry Farley, DJ of the Year. That's the same fella who used to write to us, you know. So that's why we put Kevin onto the case of, you know, get to him when he's coming out the limelight and thrust the tape in his hand, you know. Which is what Kevin did, you know, because he's great at things like that.
And what was on the tape?
Stepping Stone.
Right. So
but it was our version of Stepping Stone,
yeah,
which we thought was acid housey.
So the actual arrangements were still yours. It was what he did was engineer and
from that tape.
It.
From that tape, but he basically said to us, the tape sounds great, you know, it's exciting and that, but it's I can really put it into another sphere, another dance sphere, you know. He said it's too fast. You want to slow it down. London doesn't like fast.
So he was to the Farm what Oakenfold and Osborne were to Happy Mondays.
Definitely,
yeah.
Definitely, you know. And all that mattered was that, you know, remixed by Terry Farley appeared on the cover, really. Even though we did come up, you know, we came up with the drum loops and transformed the song really into what is Stepping Stone now, you know.
Yeah. Which really should have been a hit single, but we didn't put a 7-inch single on, did we? We did a 12-inch single. If we'd have put a 7-inch out with it, that would have been actually probably our chart.
I remember the record, well, our record label, and the pluggers coming to us at the time saying, you're midweeks number 30 for Stepping Stone. It's probably going to go down. We need to press up 7-inch singles at the time, because we were all buying 12 inches. We saw it as a bit of a betrayal. We were like, no. And when you think about it now, it's also madness. Really, you know?
It was only available on 12
It was only available on 12 inch.
Yeah, they got to 58, I think that was nice.
That's right, yeah.
But the midweek was 30 on 12 inch sales alone. And
we had a situation where, because the distribution was, you know, the shops, especially in London, couldn't get it quick enough. Terry Farley and Suggs would go around in a car with record, you know, boxes of 25, 50 records in the back, supplying, you know, and they wanted to give us more.
As soon as we given them, they were flying out.
Suggs was ringing up going, I can't believe, you know, what's going on, because it was like a real, you know, underground thing, you know, and all these hip, trendy dance record shops in London wanted to get us another 50 copies, you know, and they just couldn't cope with the demand, you know.
Whose idea within the band was it to do a totally different version of the Monkees?
I don't think it was. It wasn't anyone's idea. We were just in a studio on London Road, weren't we? And we started messing around with the ideas, and we were above us. There was a club, so we used to be listening to it all night. You know, we'd spend some time in that studio, and we eventually. It
was one of my favourite songs.
One of Peter's favourite songs.
A lot of groups that I'd liked that covered it, you see.
Right.
So I thought it'd be good to do it.
And you know, there is the thing about doing a cover version. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it. It's not point in doing it the same, is there? So you might as well do it differently. And as Peter said, when Terry got hold of it, he transformed it in a way to what you hear now, I suppose.
That's quite an exciting period, that, because when that single came out, there was a big buzz around it. It's like the Face were right behind it. So all of a sudden we were in the Face, that was great. ID magazine, all of a sudden became very, you know, we became very interested in a way, you know, like the press were interested. But we had these like giant cardboard sheet made, those like to go in the shops, to like promote the record. We were getting phone calls, and then the first day it came out, we were getting phone calls in our office in produce from say like Newcastle, HMV, Newcastle, or it would have been them days, saying any chance of any one of them sheep being nicked.
They're getting stolen from the shops.
Yeah. And then you were on the London scene a lot more, and there's a guy called Charlie Chester in that Ibiza connection. Can you
We
tell us
just
about
heard from him
that?
recently, Mr. Chester.
Really? Can you tell us about how all that came up?
Charlie Chester was a Kevin connection. I think he was aware of what he was doing in London, you know, and he was running some of the, you know, underground parties in London, cool parties. And I think he was running a trip to Ibiza. You got to remember Ibiza, it was called Ibiza 90. And in those days Ibiza was before all these documentaries on Ibiza, before all the hordes went there. But it was still regarded from like the late 80s as a, you know, this Balearic sound, and it was a really fashionable place to go, you know. So this Ibiza 90 was a culmination of a few years, these DJs going over to clubs like the Q Club and other places and putting on events, you know. So when we were first asked by Kevin, you know, we're going to do, well, we were told by Kevin, you're doing Ibiza 90. And I remember there was a bit of unrest, wasn't in the band, wasn't it,
Overplaying it?
Overplaying, yeah. Because, well, I just think because we weren't getting paid for it. You know, but he said, doesn't matter, you're not getting paid, you're going to have a holiday and you're going to get filmed by a TV company,
Right.
and it's going to be the, you know, it's going to be a free advert for the farm, you know.
So he had a lot of savvy as a media savvy.
Well, he worked for Channel 4, you see, he was the assistant to the youth commissioning editor at Channel 4, but he didn't tell them he managed the farm. So at the time, it was great rock and roll. It was Malcolm McLaren-esque, because he got Channel 4 to buy this short film about chilling, as he was the manager of the farm, and he sold it as this Ibiza 90 documentary about what's happening in cool Ibiza. But really, if you look at the documentary, it's our advert for the farm, because we're all the way through it, you know.
And I read in some sleeve notes that he got the timing perfectly, because Groovy Train was just bubbling under when he managed to get it screened. I mean,
That's
so the
right.
timing was
Friday
perfect.
release.
Yeah.
That's why I said
And there was no accident there, was it? It was spot on. And we were on the first episode of the first ever
episode of
Word,
Word,
Yeah.
And the last one.
It was a rock and roll swindle.
And how did Groovy Train come together?
It was one of the new songs we were like rehearsing, and I think we'd been offered another John Peel session, so we had a working version of it, and I think for the follow-up single we'd chosen another song, Higher and Higher, and we'd got halfway through recording that, and because we used technology as well as analog tape machines, the code from the machine wasn't in sync, so the recording had to be aborted. So the next time there was any available studio time, we decided then we'd give Groovy Train a go. Plus
pure accident, really.
Yeah. Plus we'd started playing it live, and it was going down the best, you know, live. So and various people were saying to us that'd be a good single, that, you know. So we
There's
had
a story that at the Subterranea, Mick Jones was at the front row when you were sort of playing that. Is that right? And you didn't know he was there. Your hero was there. What, no?
Yeah. Oh, I remember
he was at the Subterranea. Yeah, well, remember when it was like, oh, Mick Jones on the guest list. He's rung up, he wants to come, you know. You think, you know, something's happening here, you know. And the Subterranea is only a small venue, so it was like, it was pre-Groovy Train. It was like, you know, probably May 1990, before we'd even been to Ibiza, you know.
And it was around that time, Steve, that you had already been working a lot on All Together Now. Can you tell us how you got the idea for that?
Well, I always loved the classical piece, you know, Pachelbel's Canon. And for years I've been trying to do something with it, you know, various styles of music. And like with the beats that we were using for the farm in 1990, it seemed to fit perfectly with the chord progression. So I think one of the songs, Ben had produced this drum loop for another song, but I started playing the chords to Pachelbel over it. I think we both did a little demo of it, and it just sounded fantastic, you know. And we played. Everyone came into the rehearsal room and suddenly said, "What's this?" You know. And Peter grabbed hold of the microphone and started singing over it. I've got a cassette tape of that, And like after about 5 minutes, he starts singing all together now. You know, so.
So it was just that's what the music inspired in you. It
Yeah.
was an
Right,
anthem. It was an anthem.
Yeah.
Did the Labour Party adopt it as in their campaign?
Many years later, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
A couple of years, I think
The year they
1992, the year he lost.
Everyone's adopted it, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you happy about that?
What, the Labour Party
Yeah.
adopted it? Well,
We
we
wanted
didn't
them to-
object to
No.
it, you know, we didn't object.
We wanted them to get in, like, but they didn't win.
Right.
Scottish Labour Party as well, they had it as well, didn't they?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
some, the
And
Irish, one of the Irish
Mm.
parties had it.
Feel it.
It's the type of song that everyone sort of claims as their own,
Mm.
you know, I suppose.
I mean, it's well loved in Germany as well,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
There's been numerous techno versions of it
Right.
Yeah.
in Germany. You know.
You could fill a CD with cover versions of all together now.
Right.
The Spanish love it too, which is good for us.
And then in '91, Spartacus going to number one.
Yeah.
Did you know that you were making a number one album as you made it?
Not at the time,
No.
but I mean, making the album, I just remembered it to be, everyone was just, it was a great time in your life, and everyone was enjoying themselves, and you were getting to do all them things that you'd always wanted to do. I don't think it was sitting there where anyone was even sitting there thinking we're making a number one album here. It was just, we were making the album that we sort of wanted to make, and everyone was just, you know, I was having some of the greatest moments in my life around that time. I was having a lot of fun,
Keith was hugging trees.
naked
That's
in the
it.
park.
But we were more interested, we had the Sabutio League.
Mm.
I think that was taking over much of our
Yeah.
time. I mean, that's the
record,
reality. We're not
yeah.
doing that it was actually, it was like, oh no, we've got to record.
Remember that in May?
No, because the Sabutio League was so important.
Right.
And there was 4 people in it. There was Roy, the Fudger, me, Steve and Suggs, you know. And there was always big excitement.
Well, the recording had to go on hold, didn't it, while we had the final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
But we had Carl Smith, Chaz Smash and Madness coming to the studio quite often. And he was working for, was it Godis? He was working.
yeah,
At the time,
yeah,
he was, yeah.
And no one else was allowed in the studio apart from Carl, because he was Suggs' mate. And he was coming along, and he was trying to get Madness to be forming and to do these Finsbury Park gigs, you know. That was the initial thing, you know. But he heard all together now, you know. He went, can I bring Andy MacDonald
yeah.
in to listen to it, you know. Did he come in, or
He did come in, he
yeah, he
said that we
did
met
come
him.
in, and he tried to sign us on, you know, buy out produce on the spot, and said, "Oh, this will be a Christmas #1, but if you stay with them, you know, it won't be, you know. But if you come to a major company, it will be, you know."
Right.
But at the time, we were just we're doing it on our own.
It was
It was
unthinkable.
unthinkable, you know, due to loyalty, really, to Produce Records, thinking, well, we can do it on our own, and okay, even if it gets to, like, if it doesn't get to #1, at least we're challenging Cliff Richard.
And Madonna.
And Seymour Stein, big company man, how did that happen eventually then?
Oh, Seymour Stein. Yeah. Well, I didn't speak to him.
I just remember Kevin saying, I've got this guy from America who's a bit of a legend, coming to see you in Paris, and we need to, he really wants to sign you to the rest of the world. And we're like, yeah, okay, and will he take us out for a meal? Because we were still at that stage, really. We just wanted free food. And I remember we went out to a Moroccan restaurant where they served pigeon, and I don't think none of us really used to eating pigeon at the time. But I just remember Ben getting really drunk, falling asleep with his head face down in the chicken, and there was all like food coming over, and there was like plates of chicken coming over, and he was eating it all. And I remember the rest of us getting a bit stressed out because Ben was just being and then he just collapsed, and then Seymour fell asleep, and that was it. And so we were all sort of left sitting there going with him, really drunk, and Seymour Stein like that, sleeping. Kevin kept having to nudge him to wake him up, and that's what I remember about that. Really, I think that's it.
And you signed to Sire, and that was.
Yeah.
Well, we knew his background, really. We knew his pedigree, and you know, I think he came to see us was it in Paris?
That was it.
Yeah.
In the locomotive club, I think it was, and we went on at midnight. It was a mad thing. We went on at midnight, and it was a pretty good night, I remember. You know, I think that probably convinced him. You know, we were the group he wanted. You know.
And Keith, you were saying you're having the time of your life in the late part of the 1990s.
Yeah, it was a great moment, you know.
Yeah, and when you were making the second album, how was the atmosphere amongst the band?
Everyone had gone mad at that point.
Yeah.
Steve, can you tell me a
Second
mad
album.
story?
Well, Kevin come up with the idea to put us away from London because we had a lot of distraction in London with like the nightlife and people just turning up at want to come in and stuff.
Steal your guitar.
Yeah. So he thought we'll put him in Cornwall. They won't have any distractions, and he chose Sawmill Studio, which you can only get to twice in the day because of the tides. You have to go in a boat, right, with all the gear and everything. There's one escape route, and that was along a railway line.
I found one through the woods, though.
Did you?
Yeah, there was a slide route over the hill.
But I think it worked. It had the opposite effect because we were there, and recording studios. If you're not doing your parts, you're just pacing the floor. So as soon as more than one person had time on his hands, it was find a route out into the village,
to meet
which
the
is
locals.
what happened. Just pubs and
Everything went wrong with that.
It was a bit of a non-starter, that recording
But
session.
the thing is, we'd worked solidly for 2 years. We'd had no time off. We'd think everything had changed. We'd worked so hard, and rather than give ourselves any extra time off, we said, let's just get in and get the first tracks done, because there were ideas floating around. So they found the most remote recording studio they could find. But unfortunately, the nearest town, which was dead all year, had the biggest event of the year, and that was a regatta. So suddenly this empty village filled up with all these people, and it was just like a magnet. It was every possible escape route we were finding.
Oh, he likes
Carl, you said that you found recently a bill for the damage that was done.
There was a friend of ours, who I see every morning, who used to work with sort of in them days selling t-shirts. But there was a bit of a sticky period where we didn't get on too well with the local yachting club. But we didn't get on very well at all with them, which resulted in a bit of tomfoolery with their boats and whatever. Keith set one on fire, didn't he?
Vegetable oil.
It looked really nice in the night.
But it wasn't just us, though.
The Vikings.
But anyway,
I was reacting Kirk Douglas being buried in that moving the Vikings. That was what was going on in my head at the time.
The bill turned.
I was soon to be locked up afterwards.
Glenn had it, this friend of ours, and he said the other morning to me, have you seen that? I found that from years ago. I was laughing, I was reading it thinking, because the list is great, one canoe, one rowing boat, one blah blah blah, damage to, just big list of things.
I nailed all your symbols to a tree, didn't I?
And shot them with an air gun. And you hit the tape up with an air gun as well.
I don't think it helped at this, it was called a Foy Regatta, spelled Fowy, but they would pronounce it Foy. I don't think it helped. A lot of the yachts were called Rule Britannia. And things like that, and I think
we tried to hit one of the yachts with canoes, didn't we?
Yeah.
We were all sticking canoes up and
How
launched
did you
them.
manage to get done on those tries?
No, one backing track.
One backing track, but what happened is the producer engineer we were working with at the time, he was starting to look more and more like Gandhi every day. He was getting thinner and thinner and thinner. When we first met him, we hadn't seen him for a few months, and we were like, Kevin, you're looking really pasty. He's looking really ill, and he hadn't been feeling too good, And it was quite worrying at the time, but he was found out during that recording session he was diabetic, and so we had to get a helicopter because you couldn't, to get him to fly him out, he had to go to hospital for a while. So that was it. The whole recording session was abandoned. We had a week left in there, so we stayed and had fun, really.
Peter, how do you, the second album, Lusting of Colour, and the first comparisons, how do they stand up to you?
We had a lot of times, there's some great stuff I think on Lusting of Colour. It's just that the first album we had a lot of time to work on, really, and to work out. But the second album, I think Steve has told me since he decided to, that he wasn't going to work that hard on it.
I'd branched out into film music, so I thought. So I was doing all these kind of
cinematic things, which sound fantastic, but are very difficult to put lyrics to.
Right.
So what was happening at the time? There was these floppy disks getting pushed under the door in Mayfair Studio, And we were taking them down to the studio listening, and it was like The Shining. All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy. You think something brilliant's getting produced in that room, but what was coming out of the speakers was, they've gone mad. They've gone mad. But I mean, it was difficult to put lyrics to, but if you listen back to some of them tracks, there's a track called Creepers on there. It's brilliant, fantastic music. But for cinema music, for film music, not particularly to make a hit single out of, And there's another one called News International, which, I still really like them now, but I think also we got a producer in who'd done Groovy Train, Mark Saunders, and I think his brief was, do something with the backing tracks, the loops, and I think unfortunately we've been to see Erasure in Manchester. And I think there was...
he'd been producing Erasure.
That's a great sound. Yeah. Or he'd been producing, I don't know what it was, but anyway, a lot of the backing tracks started coming out like gay disco tracks, which didn't fit in with the imagery.
And we could afford leather underwear at that stage.
You met the Pet Shop Boys on holiday, and they were sort of very instrumental in getting you a different sound, or suggesting you went a different route.
We all met them in Barcelona.
Right.
We went to see them in Barcelona. We had a great night with them, didn't we, on their tour bus and all that.
I did love the Pet Shop Boys. I thought they were great.
I think we all did.
Must admit.
So it wasn't as that was like a division in the band that some of you.
No,
were
it was
into
when it was a period during when Carl came out,
As a Pet Shop Boys.
Well, I think there was, there was,
Yeah, they started to crack.
Yeah,
the cracks had started to appear.
Yeah.
I think it's also that need as well. I think if you're 18 or 19 and you just go in life is to be famous or be in this famous pop band, but we'd had a hit album and things have moved on a little bit, and I think you need, or certainly for me, the need wasn't as great at that point. It wasn't the thing I was aiming for, I think, anymore anyway. I was saying by the time we went to America and started doing that last tour after that, or Hullabaloo, I just think your desire to be in a pop band.
What made you choose Don't You Want Me as a cover?
We never, the NME did.
No, we did.
They asked.
We chose
They
give us a list of number
Yeah.
ones over the last 40 years.
Yeah,
Right.
I chose it.
Yeah.
There you go.
But we all liked it. It was the one that we all liked, wasn't it? I think there was another contender. There's one we liked, but somebody else had done it. And then that was the one that we all said we liked the song.
I think the idea was opposite. It was supposed to be, I mean, we were, the press were obsessed that we look like, people from street corners or whatever.
Electricians.
Yeah, and it was before all the Oasis thing, so before people ended up, all groups looked like, us, but I think we took it on board that, so we thought, okay, we'll do the opposite to what they think, we'll have a, Don't You Want Me, and we'll have a camp video, and we'll do everything in the video be opposite to what, George Best refusing a drink.
Whose idea was it to get George Best in?
Can't remember.
Remember?
All of that,
I think it was just...
Someone we'd always admired, isn't he? And just got him in.
We were thinking of, we'd had Frankie Howard in the previous one, so we were always looking for that, that, superstar who was,
Someone we saw...
We'd had Harry Cross in the Harry Cross.
Characters who we liked, I suppose we used to...
Real name was Bill Dean. We'd had him in the Groovy Train. So there'd been a theme, but mainly, if Sid James would have been alive, we would have gone for him,
Did you enjoy making videos?
Yeah.
Ben, did you enjoy the video process? Yeah?
Not that particular one.
What's that, Ben?
What's wrong with it?
That was my outfit, it didn't fit.
It chafed.
Yes.
You got
You were in a cage, weren't you?
I quite enjoyed that one. I got to dress up as Hattie Jakes.
You were behind the bar, weren't you?
I was behind the bar as a
I was
barmaid.
behind bars.
And realised how nice tights felt. Stockings until I actually tried them.
Well, doing the whole
I've
pop
been a changed
promo
man
thing,
ever since.
doing that whole pop promo thing, what it made me realise, well, it's that side I liked. I might be behind the camera, and this side, and that's what I ended up just pursuing in the end. But
That was the changing point, was it?
I think having a shot at being able to do pop promos, or rather than actually just be in them, but realise now they're done, well, what, you know, all the people that are standing behind you, you know, what they actually do, how it works, how it's edited. I was always interested in that. I was always interested in film. So I think, you know, years later on, it gave me that sort of confidence to think, actually, I wouldn't mind just doing that instead.
The Don't You Want Me thing totally backfired, I think, you know, because it was seen as an act by the NME of like releasing it as a single, was seen as like a desperate attempt to get back in the charts. So it wasn't really anything of the sort. I think that was it. To release it as a single was, by this time we'd signed to Sony for a massive deal, really, and it was really their decision, you know. We wouldn't have chosen that, you know, but when they did, you know, choose it, we went along with this idea of this camp video. I think it backfired really on the whole image of the band, but we were obsessed with this, I think, Monkeys image, you know, of cartoon characters, you know, and I think even though we found it hilarious, other people would come up to me, what are you doing in that video? You know, don't you understand? And you can't explain it to them because, you know, they just didn't get it.
So you work for Madness staff, and even now, if you look back at all the Madness videos, they've aged well, they look good, Madness look great, and when they were dressed up in whatever they were wearing those videos, you know, it still comes across brilliantly. But I don't think it did for us.
Oh, I think it did in that video. I think that video's funny. I watched it for the first time for 10 years and I laughed.
It's good.
And then from that, you mentioned, Peter, about Sony were actually giving a few more orders than you've been used to about what's going to be done and how it should be done. Was that the case for Hullabaloo?
No, we went with Sony for Hullabaloo.
Sony paid us to leave.
Hullabaloo was Seymour Stein again. He was the only person really. Sony had lost confidence in us, and then Seymour Stein was still willing to give us money for the Hullabaloo album, and Seymour gave us the money to do that. Yeah. So it was only ever really released in America. But really, by doing that, and Kevin at the time was saying, you know, we've got this producer in, anything he says goes. But that was the end of the group, because it split the group up really, you know, in terms of music, because what we'd enjoyed doing wasn't the same anymore, you know. And really, when we went on tour in America, I think we were going through the motions in all our places, you know.
So basically, it was in '93 as you were recording Hullabaloo.
That was
you knew that was
it. I think, because there was a lot of. I mean, there was no open, you know, fisticuffs in the band, but there was a lot of, you know, there was a lot of heartfelt discussions, you know, a lot of phone calls, you know, and really, I think Kevin decided then that, you know, he'd have to look at, you know, I think he'd lost the edge, because trying to control six people with all, you know, strong personalities is very difficult, you know.
But those gigs that you did in the States, they were some of them were high-profile gigs, weren't they?
Yeah, they were great.
So I remember that tour. We did some bloody good gigs on that tour. We played some good gigs. Albeit, I don't think everyone's heart was in it at the time, and I don't think everyone's head was in it. I mean, as Roy sort of pointed out earlier, we've gone quite a long time without a rest, and we never really took a rest, and that's probably a mistake. From our point of view, to sort of take some kind of rain check on where we were up to, and it was like it became like a constant battle, and you never really got a moment to sort of deal with where you were at. And the fact that we're all sitting here today after it all, we can all sit in a room and still get on, is a testament to the characters and the people that are involved.
Yeah, it brings us nicely back to the beginning where you said it was Christmas, you just arrived home, and you just didn't play together anymore. It wasn't a split, it wasn't goodbye.
You just went home.
It just fizzled, really, yeah.
We went home.
It wasn't so much that, it was that all of us were interested in other things, and we all went off to pursue them. Right. And then by the time a couple of months had gone past, we all kept busy.
I got Brixton Academy on Saturday. You've been rehearsing for about a week, as I understand it, yeah?
A day. Yeah, a week.
So you've been rehearsing this week. What of the future? What of the future? Is this the beginning of?
Well, I don't know, because every interview we did last year around about the England song, you said any chance of getting back together, I was adamant, or, you know, it wouldn't happen, you know, because I didn't think it would happen. And I think Steve was famously the person who changed his mind, really, because Steve was adamant, you know, even though I was like, you know, I couldn't see it happening. It was mainly because Steve was saying it'll never happen. I've never liked, this group to reform. Keep it as a memory. So you'll have to ask Steve.
Yeah. No, I became quite seriously ill a couple of years ago. Well, no, a year ago. I got cancer, and so very, very serious, life-threatening illness, and your family, you're thinking about various things, and fortunately I got over it, and so the idea of getting back together with the farm suddenly was a great idea instead of something I'd always dreaded. Because I always dreaded us all getting back together because we had to, and you've seen that so often. But in a situation where you could lose your life, and they had an opportunity to reform, and I wasn't there, there'd be a gap on the stage type of thing. I was thinking things like that. So I thought, sod it,
Cut out, you mean?
Yeah.
We had such a good time doing the television thing, all to be back together. There's only Ben that wasn't there, but the five of us hadn't spent any time together. And it was just like old times, and it clicked, and within, it was the same old jokes, the same old personalities, and it was, you realised how much you'd missed it, because for 10 years I've been telling people I didn't miss it, didn't particularly ever want to do it again. But then when we had a taste of it, it was like, God, yeah, I've forgotten how much I missed this.
I think it was the On the Buses videos going down to Great Yarmouth.
Yeah. Well, also as well, we've been, working with Sean and Bez and them doing the DJ, and that we've been doing, and they get a load of people. It's like a lot of things all coming together all at the same time. Yeah. I mean, because as Peter says, and there's been quite a lot of offers before, and the offers, there's offers now for stuff. It just sort of everything felt right as well, and the people that we're working with sort of now feels right. It's quite independent. What's going on at the moment? It's not really with any big music industry, cigar suit promoters or that sort of stereotypical image, and it's something which is quite independent and everyone's fairly comfortable with. So there's that element to it as well. So it's a lot of factors sort of involved.
And looking forward, just like with the Mondays, they did a handful of gigs last year. Could you see yourself, the Brixton Academy one being on a similar basis, that might lead to occasional get-togethers for you?
One thing that's sort of being overlooked is that when we were together the first time, we were always portrayed as thickos, and they used to say you dress like electricians, and but the thing is, each of us have gone on to be successful in other things. We haven't all just sat around waiting for it to be reformed. We're waiting to reform. We've all branched off into totally different careers and all made a success of it.
Me and Keith work the L.I.P.A building, and basically mentor young up-and-coming groups from the northwest. Basically, people who are unemployed but want to get a chance to be in a successful group. There've been quite a few groups come through. Groups like the Bandits and the Zootons. They've all been mentored by Keith.
Mentored by us, yeah. That's why
Steve,
they're so
what are
crazy.
you up to at the moment?
Well, I carried on with me cinematic composition to sort of me computer over the years. I managed to do a couple of TV shows thanks to Carl, which I'm sure that he'll explain a bit about his TV company next. And also I branched into some dance music. I had a release last year, so I've got a little home studio, at home. So keep.
And Ben, what are you doing in France?
A holiday home business
And selling wine.
selling wine.
Right.
Yeah. But I still do music as well.
Yeah.
Do adverts and TV programs.
And Roy, what are you doing?
I went into straight from the farm. I went into script writing. Wrote lots and lots of episodes of Brookside and Hollyoaks. I write the bill, but I've got a production company called Hurricane Films, and we just finished our first feature. So we keep busy in television and pop videos and stuff.
But you went from the farm into TV script writing?
Straight away, yeah. Sort of I got commissioned for my first episode of Brookside the last time we were doing a demo, and that sort of kept me busy.
Carl, what are you doing?
Again, tail end of the farm, I got picked up by Channel 4 as the director, went into the world of documentary, started making documentaries, so I did, which was great because when I started doing them, I asked Steve to write the music, so everything I've ever done for television, Steve's written the music for, on everything. I'm just hopefully about to do a feature film to BBC. which Steve again would be.
You were telling us earlier about this very interesting story about, just finishing off this interview, the farm effect. What was the farm effect? And you were telling me about a meeting you had with Alan McGee.
Yeah, I accidentally bumped into Alan McGee at Tea in the Park, very first Tea in the Park. And Alan bought me a drink, shook my hands, and then went on to say that, without the farm, there wouldn't be an oasis. But like now, you go to any university, and students look like oasis. And I think from the farm, when the farm were doing it in the early days, it was unusual. It was almost like a punk thing. Whereas now, everyone looks like they're an oasis. You walk around Liverpool city centre, Leeds, wherever you go, everyone looks like they're an oasis.
It was almost a subculture.
Thanks everybody for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
be with you all the while. Stand by me while I'm away. Stand by me for another day. Very, very, very emotional. Staring, staring, staring all the day. Very, very, very emotional. Don't you go away. Staring, staring, staring all your day. Very, very, very emotional. Staring, staring, staring all your day. Very, very, very emotional. Staring, staring, staring all your day. Remember me, remember me emotional. Remember me, remember me all your day. Very, very, very emotional. Ambience. What? Was everyone happy with that? I know, Roy. Yeah, but you always drop a stick, don't you? did okay on that one.
Thank you. I am.
It's not the keyboard that's the problem, it's fucking rock god guitarist.
Two.
Right, yeah, because you're deaf. Take